It's episode 7 in the Rye podcast with Curt Fletcher. I'm Curt Fletcher. Thanks for tuning in. My guest today is Jaret Reddick from Bowling for Soup. Super cool guy. He also hosts a podcast, Jaret Goes to the Movies, which is one of my favorite podcasts. He's also the voice of Chuck E. Cheese. He also does the theme song for Phineas and Ferb. He does a lot of stuff. Super excited to have him on. Just want to talk about, I had a show last Thursday in Las Cruces, New Mexico, which was a lot of fun. Got to perform live, which was nice. It had been a little over a month since I had performed live, so it was cool to get out there and do a set. And the venue was cool. It was outdoor. Weather was great. The other comics were super cool too. They're all from El Paso, so it was nice to get out there and perform. And then Friday night I did a Zoom show for the first time, and that was actually a lot of fun. I wasn't sure how it was going to be, but our friend Dante, who was on episode 4, invited me to do this show, and had some really cool comics on there from LA and stuff. And we had a little crowd. You can hear them laughing and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. It was a lot of fun. And this Saturday I'll be doing a set in Albuquerque at a recording studio, which is going to be live stream on Facebook. So I'll make sure to share the links for that so you can check it out if you want to. I'll be doing a longer set, so it'll be fun. Hopefully try out some new material. So let's get this episode started. Let's go talk to Jaret.
What's up, dude?
Not much, man. How are you?
Good, dude. I'm so sorry for just jerking you around. It's just
you're fine, man. I appreciate you taking the time to do this, man. I know you're busy.
One thing after another, sir.
I hear you, man. How many guitars do you have?
Man, it's kind of like tattoos at this point.
Yeah, you don't know.
I have no idea. A lot.
Yeah.
I recently had a friend who was liquidating, and so sorry. But he was liquidating, and basically I got one for like each little niche.
Oh, cool.
Of sound and recording and stuff, and so I was needing a couple of Gretches, and so I got a couple of Gretsch, and then I have a couple of custom Strats and a Tele or two, and but yeah, I mean it's at this point it's each one of them kind of does a different thing for me.
Oh, cool. When did you start playing guitar? I know I watched your episode with you were on Tony Casillas' podcast.
Yeah.
And you said that you started out as a drummer, and then you started playing guitar.
Yeah, I started out as a drummer and played drums all through school, and through like marching band and all of that, and then I really didn't start playing guitar till really late, actually. I mean, I guess in like into my 20s, because it was really just one of those things where I was just in cover bands, and none of my bandmates would write songs. Mm-hmm. And so I just was like, I mean, I might as well give it a try. And so I was in a metal band, metal bands through high school and about half of college. And then whenever I discovered punk rock, I was like, man, I can do that. Like I can figure that out, and just power chords and so yeah. I mean, I think I took 2 guitar lessons, and quite frankly, I was just completely overwhelmed by the way that the guy was teaching me, because he was real into theory and things like that, and I was whoa. So I'm super self-taught. Like I don't do everything correctly, and sometimes my chord choices are a little bit different, but it seems to work okay.
That's cool, man. Actually, I just bought a bass like less than a month ago, and I'm teaching myself how to play. And 1985, I've been trying to play, and I haven't got it down yet. But
well, the basic structure of it is pretty easy. It's only 5 chords.
Yeah.
But yeah, but then you throw in all the stuff that Eric did on the song, and there's a little bit more going on in there.
Yeah, it's fun, man. It's a lot of fun to play.
And that's a hard instrument if you don't, just because it's pretty rough on the fingers.
Oh yeah. I couldn't even play yesterday because my fingers and my muscles were just so sore.
Yeah.
And I was bummed out because I love playing it, and then
The
I
cool
forced
thing
myself to play it later.
The cool thing about playing bass is it makes playing like acoustic guitar really easy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
So for a lot of people, like jumping from electric guitar to acoustic guitar, it's completely different. Like for your muscles in your hands and stuff. And then, but bass, when you play bass, it tends to make your fingers so super strong that, but yeah, I'm not very good on bass. I can play what I need to play and get demos done, and then I leave the rest of it to the professionals.
Okay. That's cool. I love acoustic guitar, man. I wish I could play. Like I tried to play when I was younger, and my fingers are just so damn short. Like so it's really hard to play. But
I have really small hands too.
Oh, really?
Part of the reason that I play Music Man Ernie Balls on my main guitars on stage is that the neck is quite a bit smaller or whatever. But there's definitely acoustic guitars out there that they're not as chunky, especially this day and age. I mean, they're even like the Korean and Japanese made guitars are better quality, and so you can get an affordable acoustic that doesn't have like a big tree trunk for a neck.
Oh yeah.
On there. Yeah, but yeah, that's definitely there's a lot of muscles when you start to do those kind of things that you're not really used to using, and man, you get sore.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was I went to pick it up yesterday and I was like, man, I can't play today.
Yeah.
And but I did last night. I forced myself to play just because I feel like if I take one day off, then I might get rusty. But I mean, I suck at it anyway. But
I mean, I think but the cool thing is though too is that, and especially being locked up, there's so much you could use. There's so much you can learn on YouTube. I mean, just out there for you.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy. It's like little kids that normally would have taken 2 years of lessons. They just get on YouTube, and in 2 weeks they're like shredding.
Oh yeah. I've been using Songster. They have a lot of cool tabs and stuff on there, and you can listen to the song while you're trying to play and stuff, and that helps a lot.
Nice. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, and I learned We Are 138 by the Misfits. That was a pretty easy one.
Oh, very good. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. If you just go punk rock, you're like, you're in, Like that's the way to go.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Bloodhound Gang, so I've been working on some of their songs too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some evil Jared bass lines.
Hell yeah.
I noticed you're wearing a anti-flag Justin Sane
I just got this in the mail today.
Yeah. Neat.
Yeah. I love Justin Sane, man. He's awesome. The anti-flag is great.
Yeah,
have you played with them before?
We've played with them a bunch of times. Very, very nice guys, and cool. I'm friendly with Chris.
Right on.
And I mean, I know, it's kind of one of those things where like we're all in the same club, so we know each other. But like, it's like, but yeah, they're Pittsburgh guys, and great band, and they definitely are very passionate about what they do, and that's something that you kind of have to admire, that people that they really, really stick to what it is they believe in. And
yeah, I love it, man. My ex-wife actually got me into Justin's solo album. Have you heard that one?
No, I haven't. I should check it out.
Yeah, it came out in like 2002. Really good.
Okay. So it's been quite a while.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. Yeah, it's a great album though. Really cool. He's got a cool voice.
I will check that out.
Have you ever played in Albuquerque?
Yes, many times actually.
Okay.
Trying to think of the last place we played there, but we used to. In fact, we have a story. We showed up in the van one time back in the day. We showed up to the place we were supposed to play, and we got there, and they were, we load in, and we're like, "Where's the PA?" And they're like, "Yeah, we don't have PA here. You guys are supposed to bring your own PA." And so there was a fellow musician there in the audience who was nice enough to go and get us a PA and then charge us more than we were making to play the show. But that's a long time ago, man. We've had some decent shows down in Albuquerque, and
cool.
Yeah, I think we were there like 2 tours ago, actually.
Oh, really?
Like not incredibly long ago, but you know what? I drink, so I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Do you forget a lot of your shows?
I don't actually. I am freakishly good at remembering every show, and especially if you give me a couple of context clues.
Yeah.
So somebody will come up and go. People are always surprised. They'll come up and they'll go, "Oh, you know, you played blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, what was that thing?" And then I'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's the night this and this and this and this and this happened." You know.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
I can't remember what the hell I'm supposed to do today, but I can remember everything about things I've done. So, you know, that's one of those things. There was a Facebook post the other day, and it was of my T-ball team. When I was 5 years old, so 40-something years ago, and our original drummer Lance and I are still good friends, and he was on that team, and his post on there was, "I bet JR can tell you every single person's name in this picture," and I could. I did.
I'm the same way, man. I could do that too. Do you keep track of how many shows you've done?
No, I wish I had. Yeah, I really wish I had, because I'm a big Frank Turner fan, and he cataloged his shows, archives them, and so like he just did his 2,500th show, and it just happened to be their first like big live stream during this COVID thing or whatever.
Oh,
so
cool.
It'd be cool to know how many, but honestly, it would be impossible even to go back, because we did so many things, like doing 2 shows a day on weekends, and things like that back when we were kids. And so because you could go and set up in a record store and play to just trying to get people to come out to your show that night in whatever town. And we were just very very good at staying busy. Not that we aren't now, but we played a lot of shows back in the day.
Yeah I've always kept track of all mine. I'm kind of a nerd about it. Like I was gonna hit 2,000 this year, but I probably won't now. But yeah, so next year hopefully I'll hit the 2,000 mark.
It's so funny. You just sparked my memory, and so the dude that I bought some of these guitars from recently was a big time musician in our hometown in Wichita Falls.
Oh, cool.
And I remember him saying that we should catalog everything and make sure that we kept a diary of all of it, and so that we could look back on that at some point. And I remember thinking, that's silly. We're only going to be doing this a few years. And here we are 26 years later. Like, that would be so cool to have that.
That would be cool. Yeah.
Yeah. But unfortunately it doesn't exist.
Yeah. That's too bad, man. At least you still have like your old tour dates, and, you got posters and things like that to remind you. So that's cool.
Yeah. That's definitely one of those things where I can walk in to my studio and see posters and remember certain shows and things like that. And then also, I mean, the internet is forever, so if somebody's asked me about something, it's easy to Google Bowling for Soup, Albuquerque, and
for sure,
and figure out when we were there last time.
Plus, I mean, there's probably even some footage on YouTube of people shooting footage with their phone, so you can just pull that up. That's cool.
Yeah, which is a shitty thing for a comedian, right? I mean, you guys,
it is.
It's the worst.
It doesn't happen as often. Like, it's frowned upon in comedy clubs. Like, you can get kicked out for doing shit like that. So
yeah.
Which concert's totally different.
It's the way it should be, I mean,
absolutely.
You guys up there trying to, you're essentially doing what we do in the studio in front of people.
Yeah.
And so it's it's funny, like, the whole like filming things, to me, I get like trying to get a snippet of something and share it on Instagram, like, hey, I'm doing this, and you try to get some likes on your post and this and that. But like, I mean, I've been to shows as a fan. In fact, I went and saw Tom Kiefer from Cinderella, and I'm like a big Cinderella fan. I grew up listening to hair metal, and I'm watching the show, but there's like a shorter guy in front of me, but he's holding his phone up, and he filmed the entire show with his phone. And his phone was like at eye level, and it was packed. So like, I'd kind of move, and then he would move, and it's just really annoying. And then it's like, what are you going to do? You're just going to go back and watch that? Like, hey, guys, you got to check out this concert I filmed on my phone. You know, like.
Yeah. I know you're a big George Carlin fan. He's got that joke about, he talks about people who are always filming shit. And they're not just in the moment, like enjoying it. You know?
Isn't it funny how ahead of things he always was? Like,
oh yeah,
just the fact that he was always making that observation. He was already making that observation, and we were nowhere near as addicted to our phones when he passed away as we are. You know, we had nowhere near the capabilities and just the storage and, you know, the amount of places to put things, and it's just, he was always one step ahead of all of us, man. It's just such a mind in that guy.
Yeah, he's the reason I started doing stand-up. When I was 4 years old, my mom was watching him on HBO, and I was supposed to be asleep, but I heard her laughing in the living room, so I snuck out there. I was like, what is she laughing at? You know, and I saw her watching George Carlin, and I was like, that's what I want to do. You know, I want to make people laugh. And then she told me I tried running away from home too. I just packed up this little suitcase I had, and she caught me walking out the door. She's like, where are you going? I was like, oh, I'm going to New York to live with George Carlin.
What a great story. That's amazing. Yeah, me too, man. My story is pretty similar. My parents were watching it on HBO, and I didn't get censored as a kid. I mean, sometimes they would say, you know, leave the room or whatever, but not very often. And we had cable in every room in the house. So like,
oh, nice.
You know, I could watch whatever I want anyway. But yeah, I remember seeing, you know, those first George Carlin specials that I was able to watch, and not really understanding the jokes as much as I understood what it was he was doing, just the delivery of it and his pace, and like why it was making people laugh, even if I didn't get everything. You know, we all of us understood shit, piss, cock, cunt, son, bitch, motherfucker, and tits. You know, like, and that was just fun to learn and say. Yeah. But you know, when you know, again, I loved the idea, like you said, of just making people laugh, and you know, it's it's a sickness, isn't it, man? I miss it, man. It's funny. It's like people are like, how are you doing not playing shows? And I'm like, I miss applause, but I miss laughter more, man. Yeah. I miss it so much. And that's such a big part of our shows.
Oh yeah. You know? Yeah.
So, yeah, man, it's George was the best though. I have my wife painted me for our viewers, not our listeners.
Yeah.
My wife painted me that.
That is so cool, man.
A huge George Carlin for my first birthday when we were together.
That's so cool.
I came home from Europe with that on my wall, and I keep it in my studio. So when I'm
that's awesome. Did you ever see George live?
About 6 times.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, and what was funny about him is he would always open up with one of like 4 jokes. You know, it was always like, and I remember one time I saw him like, he opened up with a joke that was so fucking old that it was almost, he opened up with don't you find it weird that that George Bush had a operation on his finger and Ronald Reagan had an operation on his asshole? And, but he would always open up with a classic one-liner, because the next time I saw him, he was just like, you ever notice that women who are against abortion or women you wouldn't want to fuck anyway? You know, and it was always just one of those, and then he'd get into some fresh shit.
When I saw him, he opened with, you know what nobody ever talks about anymore in public? Pussy farts.
Yes, exactly.
This is how he starts the show, and it's awesome.
Just a classic one, but it's so funny how he would do that, something that he knew everybody in the audience had heard, because you had either heard it on one of his albums or one of the specials. It was always one of those classic little one-line jokes, and then, you know, he reeled you in with familiarity and then took you on this journey. You know, I the thing about his comedy too is that, like, you know, I've said this a bunch, but how he just evolved, you know, just as we evolved as a society, he evolved as a comedian.
Oh yeah.
And then it became, by the end, he was this observational guy who almost came from this place of anger with society, but somehow managed to make it funny.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but yeah, I there's so many things that I say all the time that I steal from him. You know, and that like I can't even look at like squash or broccoli or anything like that because he just like because he talks about foods that sound so bad you never want to eat it. He was like, I would never want to eat yogurt, you know. And then he just like, and you want some squash? Shit, no. and then he does the bit where he goes, broccoli cures cancer. A lot of people don't know that. You know, you get yourself a little cancer, eat yourself a fucking bowl of broccoli, clears it right up. Cauliflower, too. Cauliflower cures the cancers you can see through clothing from across the street. Just, good Lord.
Yeah, my family and I are always quoting George Carlin. My sister will always say, you ever get in the car and turn on your radio and it's this fucking loud?
Yeah.
It's so brilliant, man. And I love how he can just talk about something like totally brilliant and then he goes into some fart jokes and like, that's so funny.
Yeah, like you're so right. Like he would go from, you know, like talking about the pollution in New York City or something, and like how terrible the fucking water is and just what a dirty shithole it was. Yeah. To pussy farts and fucking, you know, he used to talk about his dog Tippy all the time. He'd always include his, Tippy. Yeah. Oh man, just he would always include his pets in the. He's a good goddamn dog. Yeah. The other one that I do constantly is that you can't not do it, but it's the sports one where he's just like, you know, tennis isn't a sport. Tennis is ping pong while standing on the table. You know. And then he gets into serious goddamn injuries. You know?
Oh yeah.
Oh, the reason why I thought of that because when we're golfing, it always hits me when he's talking about. He goes golf. He goes, and golf isn't a sport. You know, golf. You get out there and you hit the ball as far as you can, and then go after it. You know, I say pick it up and put it in your pocket and go home. You're lucky you found it. You fuck.
It's like his fart joke. He's like talking about the test farts. He's like, say, is that Golf Digest?
Yeah, the test farts.
Oh, it's so funny.
Oh, man.
Oh, it's so brilliant. Yeah, I heard you talk about his sitcom on Tony's podcast. Like, a lot of people don't know about that sitcom at all. Like, it was on Fox. And the reason it didn't last long is because Sam Simon was such an asshole. He was like one of the producers on that show. Do you know who he is?
Yeah, he's he's like one of the biggest producers ever, right?
Yeah. He started The Simpsons. He was one of those guys, and they didn't like him, and they fired him from The Simpsons, but they allowed him to have a credit for every episode. That was kind of their deal to fire him. They're like, we don't want to work with you anymore.
Right, but
you get executive producer credits on every episode, and you'll get paid and shit. We just don't want to work with you. Even George Carlin said he was a piece of shit to work with. So,
and they just couldn't figure it out. Because, I thought the show was good. I mean, it was...
I thought it was great, man.
It was really... And especially for the time. I mean, it was the show that was happening. And, you know, he just was this old man and had his friends in the neighborhood. And, you know, it was good.
Yeah, I thought it was so cool to see George like that, you know. Because I was pretty young when I came out. But, like...
Yeah.
But it's so cool, you know, just to see that. And then it just kind of disappeared, and I was bummed.
Yeah, it's people get freaked out when they find out that he was the conductor on Thomas the Tank Engine too.
Oh yeah, I told someone that the other day, and they're like, "No way!" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "My nephew was watching it one day, and I heard George Carlin's voice, and I was like, what the fuck?" And, my nephew is actually a big Phineas and Ferb fan, and
nice.
He sent me a message a little bit ago on Discord. He's like, "Hey, if your friend does another TV theme song, make sure he throws in the word fart." Because farts are funny.
Yeah, fart equals funny.
All right.
Yeah, it is. That's just math, you know.
Yeah.
Fart equals funny.
I mean, they are. You know, George had some great fart jokes, and that's cool. You got with the Phineas and Ferb show, man.
Yeah.
Is it still on the air?
It isn't. No, 9 years. 9 years it lasted, but their first like actual movie is about to come out.
Oh, really?
And so, it's I think it's something that hopefully will never die.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I didn't get the call for the big league, so I'm sure
That
they're
sucks.
doing something else for the theme song. But yeah, it's coming out soon. But I mean, the creators of that show have been amazing to me. Both actually used to work on The Simpsons, by the way.
Cool.
And Disney was great to me during that whole time, and it's been something that is a true blessing, and that it just does good for the show if the movie comes out and does great. So
Oh yeah, absolutely, man.
Hopefully people keep watching it, because again, I just don't think that I've ever seen such a well written children's show, and that's what everybody says. Like all of the adults who their kids watch it are always like, man, it's so nice to have a show that you don't hate, that your kids watch all the time.
Yeah, I watched a few episodes with my nephew because he told me, I guess one of the characters' last name is Fletcher, so he was like telling me about it.
Yeah.
He's like, maybe they're related to you. I was like, well, it's a cartoon.
Yeah, it's not. The funny thing is that all of the characters on that show their names are that have something to do with the two guys that wrote it. So,
oh, really?
Like the girls are named after their daughters, and except for Phineas and Ferb, obviously. But
yeah,
the rest of them, everybody has a namesake.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about your album. Let's Do It for Johnny.
Yeah,
that's an Outsiders reference, right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay,
that was the big thing when we would travel around and people would be like, okay, let's do it for Johnny. Who's Johnny? And we'd be like, Ralph Macchio. That's who he is, the Karate Kid.
Cool.
Yeah.
I lived in Tulsa for a few years, and they actually a musician bought the house where they filmed, and he's turning it into a museum for the Outsiders, which I think is pretty cool.
No way.
Yeah.
You know what? I didn't realize it was filmed in Tulsa.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's crazy. No,
yeah, there's a scene in the movie where they're standing by waiting for the bus, and in the background there's this church, and I used to see that church every day from my window. I watched The Outsiders, when I was living in Tulsa. I was like, holy shit, there's the church right there.
That's cool. That's cool as shit, man. Yeah, I spent a bunch of time in Tulsa because my friend Zach moved there and opened up a studio. So we recorded part of the Great Burrito Extortion case in Tulsa. And,
oh, really?
Wrote a bunch of songs there, too.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah.
Do you know how many songs you've written in your life?
No. See, there's another thing I should have kept track of. I mean, it's hundreds. I bet
you could probably keep track of that one, right? If they're all recorded anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's just it. I mean, you could go back. I mean, but that's one of those things where I was actually just talking to my friend Linus yesterday about this, and like sometimes songs get as far as like an acoustic demo. Sometimes they get to a whole fleshed out demo where you've got something that sounds like drums on there. But even then, you move on to, because I used to write, 40, 50 songs for each album, and we would just kind of take what we wanted.
Wow.
So many of those songs, you just forget they even exist. And then, sometimes my phone a podcast will finish or something, and my phone goes to my music library from Apple Music, and just some random demo will come on, and I'm like, oh, that's me. Wow, what is that? And so most of the time they kind of come back to me, but there's definitely been a few songs where I'm like, I have no recollection of writing that at all.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You've written quite a few songs with Linus, haven't you?
Yeah, Linus and I have been writing and producing together since 2009. Cool. And so he's going to be involved in this record. We've written a couple of songs. He is not going to go with us to record the new album just because of the COVID stuff and his concerns and that, which I totally understand. Plus, he's really, really busy doing a bunch of stuff for film and TV. And so he's going to produce, do a bunch of pre-production with me, and then we'll go and record the stuff, and then he'll mix it after it's over. But yeah, we've written written a bunch of great songs together. We wrote Turbulence, which is, our biggest ballad. And then we wrote, most recently, he and I wrote Alexa Bliss, which was,
Oh, yeah.
was a big song for us.
That was a cool video.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Yeah.
That's my son in the video. And then,
I thought so, yeah. That's cool.
And then that's filmed in our house. And
yeah.
So, that he let us turn his room into the set of Weird Science. And we had a good time.
Did you wrote a song for Suburban Legends? Was that with Linus?
Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
See, those are things that I completely forget about. But yes, they had started that song and wanted sort of just some guidance on where to take it. And so we were able to help do that one, and that was that's a great song, by the way.
Dude, I love that song.
We might have done two, but I know for sure we did the one that made it on the record.
I didn't even know that you wrote the song. I love the Suburban Legends. Like, I've seen them twice in concert, and they were both, like, they were opening for Real Big Fish once, and they were opening for, I can't remember if it was Voodoo Glow Skulls or the Toasters, but they stole the show both times, I thought. Like, they were just super talented. And
they're a lot of energy.
Yeah, I love it. And so I've heard Love Song several times, and then I was looking you up the other day to find out some info that I might have missed or something, and I saw that you had written that song. I was like, oh shit, that's cool. So yeah, very cool, man.
Yeah, man, it's that's one of those things that's fun to do, is when a lot of artists will come to you at that point, and they've written 20 songs, and they're like, man, we've got this idea and we think it's good, but we're just kind of stuck, and just kind of help them get through that, and just getting a fresh perspective. I mean, even for me, who's been writing songs for probably since those dudes were born.
Oh yeah.
It's nice to do co-writes every once in a while, to go to Linus or to my friend Zach or whoever, and just have that outside perspective, and just so you don't get stuck in a rut. Every time you write with a song with somebody, you learn something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do that sometimes with jokes. If I'm like stuck on a joke or something, I'll maybe hit up a friend of mine who's like a solid joke writer. Yeah. And if I can't quite figure out the wording or something, I'll go to them and see if they can like put a different spin on it or something like that. It helps a lot, man.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, you would think from that perspective of, especially just because just the way that you word it and where you pause and all of that is so much. There's so much into that,
Oh, yeah.
Do you like rehearse out loud, like in your house, or do you?
No.
You write it down and then you just go to the club.
Yeah, I'll usually go to an open mic or something and test some stuff out if I really have something that I need to word perfectly or figure out how I'm going to say it. Yeah. A lot of my jokes are shorter and one-liner style, so I don't really need to practice it too much. But some of them, if it's kind of got like a longer setup or something, I'll work on those for, go to a couple open mic sets and work them out. Is there? Are you living in Albuquerque? Yeah, I just moved back here. Oh, okay. So were you living in Tulsa before that, or did you? I was in Denver. Okay. There's good comedy scene there. Oh, it's great, man. Denver's awesome. It's too expensive to live there, though. That's a fucking expensive, and especially since they got weed, right? Like it's crazy expensive now. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. My brother was living there for a while, and he was like, "Dude, it's crazy." It is, man. Actually, I just applied for a job writing for SNL. So if I get that, I'll have to move to New York. But I mean, the odds are not good for me getting it. But I was looking up rent there. I was like, holy shit. Yeah, dude. I remember. I remember at the time when we got our record deal, 1999. I remember like our A&R guy was paying like $1,800 a month for this, for like, it was literally one room, like I guess they call it a studio apartment or whatever. So his bed like went up into the wall. Oh yeah. And a kitchen and a TV, and that was it. Yeah. It was like, Jesus, it's crazy. Yeah, isn't that nuts? Yeah. Yeah. But, I don't know. It's, but you also, everybody says it's relative, right? You say that it's,
that you get paid more for living there as well. So, hopefully, man, fingers crossed. That'd be awesome. I mean,
Thanks, man.
That'd be a huge, you hear all the horror stories, but you hear all the great stories too. Having that experience and being able to say that you've done that would be amazing.
Yeah, it'd be really cool, man. Especially, George Carlin was on the first episode, and Andy Kaufman is one of my heroes, and just to be in that room would be amazing,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I feel pretty good about the stuff I sent him too. I thought it was pretty funny stuff, so we'll see.
Yeah, good. Man, let's hope it happens.
Oh, thanks, man. I love your podcast, by the way. Jaret Goes to the Movies. That's probably my favorite podcast. How often do you do it? Do you do it Tuesday, Friday?
So basically the way that it works is it comes out once a week.
Okay.
It comes out every Friday.
Gotcha.
But we do a live stream when we record it. And so that's not like an etched in stone schedule. It's just based upon like when we can. So like right now, we're like 3 episodes ahead because Sean, our producer, is out of town for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And so we don't even have one for the next 2 weeks. But, I think it was last week we did 2. And but yeah, we have, it's a lot of fun. It's, and it's the cool, as you know, my wife is on it. And, it started out with just me and a friend of her dad's. His name is Rich. And it was his idea. It was just like, you need to get on a podcast and you need to, and I was like, I have one. And I didn't really understand, that the Bowling for Soup podcast that I did like once every 6 months wasn't a legitimate podcast. He's like, no, man, you need to get on there with a topic and just talk shit.
Yeah.
And we've been doing that like almost 5 years, which seems nuts. But
that's cool, man.
Yeah. It's now it's a different cast. It's my co-host is the dude that hosts trivia at the local pub here.
Yeah.
And then my wife and Sean. And then since we've been in COVID, our neighbor, Amy, who's really, really funny, has been guesting on it so that it's not so weird. Just me and Casey in an empty studio, because everybody else is coming in virtually.
Yeah. Yeah, I started watching it a lot when the pandemic started, because I wasn't doing anything. And because a lot of times I'll see that you're doing it live and I'd have a show or something, so I couldn't watch. And so when I wasn't doing shit, I was able to watch it a lot. So that was cool.
Yeah.
And, it was exciting, man. I love watching it live. It's super fun to interact with the fans and stuff like that.
Totally. Yeah. And they've got, it's really cool because it's not a lot of people that watch the live stream live. Just because it's at an odd time. We don't even start until 8:00 Central Time. And there's no telling how long we go. But the hardcore fans are in there, and they all kind of know each other, and everybody goes back and forth, and it's super fun. I've seen you in there a few times. I try not to watch the chat too much because it's
probably a big distraction.
It kind of fucks with my train of thought sometimes. Yeah. And so since COVID, I'm running everything from here. But when we're all in the room, I don't even see the chat at all.
I
don't even know what's going on. So, that's just one of those things where, again, it's like I try to pay attention, and then I'm half-assed paying attention. I forget what I'm saying, and it can be a mess.
Yeah, I hear you, man. It's funny, actually. One of the guys that's in the group named Vinny, he's from Des Moines, Iowa, and I grew up in Iowa, and he's actually friends with my friend's son. Like they went to school together.
That's great. That's a freaking small world, man.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah, he's gonna fucking love that you mentioned him, man. That dude is he's a really, really cool guy. Vinny.
Yeah, he's a big fan. I can tell. That's cool.
Yeah, big fan of the band, and has gotten to be a big fan of the podcast, and has managed to he's made his mark on the podcast as well, which is awesome. Yeah,
that's super cool. Yeah, he seems like a good kid, man.
Good kid.
Yeah, that's cool. Like I was listening to Tony talk about how your music got him through some tough times and shit. Like, I've watched a lot of your videos on YouTube, and I see posts like that all the time, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's that's one of those things where at first when you start to hear that, you don't really know how to take it, and again, this is going back, many years where, I mean, when you hear that you saved somebody's life, that's a lot, it's a lot to have on you. And then you just have to sort of put it in perspective as to, I mean, they're not, it's there are many things that kept me sane as a kid, and one of them was music and certain bands and things like that. And so you start to understand it too, and we're very accessible.
Yeah.
I'm for the last 8 or 10 years, I've been really vocal about mental health stuff that I go through and things like that, and my weight, and so just being able to be out there and be relatable, to someone who sees you on TV, it's definitely, it's one of those things where I am always just blown away that, songs I write can have such a huge impact on someone. But it's definitely, I'm very glad that it makes people happy. That's
great, man. I can't imagine like saving someone's life, like shit. Like I know, like I've had people come up to me after shows and like, tell them how great it is that they get to forget about their problems for an hour and a half or whatever.
Right.
But it's nothing like saving their life. But it's always a cool feeling. Like, I had one guy one time, I was performing at an American Legion in Albuquerque, and like this guy just like totally spilled his guts to me, like told me he was about to kill himself and stuff, like, and he said he really enjoyed my set and like talking to me and stuff like that. And he just gave me a big hug and like thanked me for allowing him to laugh, like just like just totally forget about all the bad shit that's been going on in his life and just laugh for an hour and a half. And like I didn't know how to handle it, but because I never really had anything like that. Like he was crying and like, I mean, he was a good dude. Like you can tell he was just a, legit guy,
Yeah.
And, so that, that was cool. Like that'll always be with me, like it's cool. Like something that I wrote and came up with, like just made this guy laugh and forget about all the bad shit, That's always a cool feeling.
It's huge, man. I mean, it's huge, and it's, it's so important that, entertainment and, comedy and music and movies and things like that are just, it's such a release, for people. And that's the thing that I love about being in my band.
Yeah.
Is that, and I think that there's a place for everything. We're talking about Anti-Flag, and, that their agenda is, is very clear. And that's what they do. My band is opposite. We're like, we want you to forget about all of that shit, and that's why music is so great. And as we said, like even comedy, there's guys like George Carlin that would point out things that were wrong with the world, and then you've got Anthony Jeselnik that talks about dropping babies for 20 minutes. That there's room for everything.
Oh yeah.
And but yeah, man. I mean, I think at first getting that kind of thing, and parents emailing me about helping their kids, and I mean the big one of the really most special things that I get is letters from parents, emails from parents that are like, man, I had nothing in common with my kid, nothing, until your band came along, and like the one thing we agree on. We don't agree on any other music or any other things, and like we now have something. And when we go to your shows, it's like our time together or whatever, and that is just a wonderful thing for me. And again, it's saving lives is one of those things, but it's hard to talk about because you don't set out to do that. Like I'm not writing a song about farts and girls thinking that somebody's gonna fucking like not off themselves, but I'm certainly glad that they don't. I'm adamant about mental health and just people talking and things like that. I'm talking in circles right now, but it's all good, man.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. I mean, because like in the entertainment industry, like we know a lot of people who deal with mental health issues all the time, and like you even mentioned on Tony's podcast, you've had several friends commit suicide. I'm the same way, man. Like it seems like it's 3 or 4 people a year almost, like something like that. Like, it's just like,
yeah.
it's sad,
Our
man.
our two choices of industry as well. I mean, are just fucking epidemic, man. Like singers and songwriters and comedians. For some reason, we just everybody's got that little thing, where and you deal with it however you do.
Yeah.
It's like going back to the whole Chester thing. It's like there's videos of him like the day before at his kid's birthday party or whatever, just happy as can be. And it's just over, it's crazy. So, it's definitely one of those things where it's like you got to constantly remind everybody, hey, dude, if you need something, reach out. If you just, if you just want me to sit on the phone and just listen, I'll do that.
Absolutely, yeah. That's cool, man.
Yeah,
you're a good dude.
Well, and as are you. I mean, I'm sure again, you're, I was talking with Tony about that. It's like, the vibe of comedy versus like what I have. Like when I go somewhere, I have 3 other dudes with me, we can pretty much fight off anything, and you guys go in these like open mics by yourself. And, just have to walk in there and, like, hey, how's it going? And I mean, you're starting to develop a name for yourself. So people, you're a headliner. So you can go in and be like, and they'll recognize you at this point, at least.
Mm-hmm.
But, that fucking world of just, being in the, what do they call it? It's the dugout or the bullpen or whatever the hell it is.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds fucking miserable, especially because fucking, stand-up comedians, just, everybody's got that chip, and not that musicians don't, because they do, but for the most part, like musician, like if a band has a dick in the band, like most of the time, like the drummer is cool, or something like that, like so you can sort of get through, but
except the band Skinless. I don't know if you ever met them. They're a death metal band. Their drummer's a piece of shit.
Is he a piece of shit? Fuck those guys.
The rest of the band was cool. He was a dick.
Yeah.
Well, what's funny is like when I started out doing comedy, there weren't very many open mics at all. There was one per month. So I had to wait, till the first Sunday of the month. But I became friends with these guys who were just starting out in the band. And they were starting to get some gigs around Albuquerque. So I'd always go with them and stuff. And they're like, hey, you want to do some time while we're setting our shit up? And I was like, fuck yeah. So like I started opening for them all the time, and then they started they were best metal band in Albuquerque for several years, and they got to open for like Anthrax and all these other big bands and shit. So
nice.
That was like super cool, and they got a record deal. Like they didn't blow up or anything. I think the record company kind of screwed them over, but yeah, it's cool because we kind of started out the same level, and then like as I was getting on the road, they were kind of opening for all these big bands and stuff, and that was pretty cool, man. Like I got to open for them at their CD release party and their 10-year anniversary party, and that was pretty cool.
Very cool. Yeah. I that's kind of always been my thing. Is like I think it'd be fun to do a Bowling for Soup tour where our opening acts are comedians.
Oh yeah,
I think it would totally work with.
That'd be great, man. I'd be totally down for that if you need an opener.
Dude, but what would be great is like you would just be on our bus, so you wouldn't have transportation and things like that. So
that'd be fun, man.
Something to think about down the road, man. Because I've always thought that would work for our just because our show is the way that it is,
Yeah.
And there's just so much music sometimes. Like when we're, a co-headline with Real Big Fish last year.
Mm-hmm.
2 hour and 15-minute sets plus an opener that plays 30 minutes. That's a shitload of fucking music, So it'd be interesting to break it up with somebody just to come out there and make everybody laugh.
Yeah. That's a tough crowd, though, when you're opening for like a band or something. Because people are just standing there and they're, usually a comedy crowd is perfect, like when they're just sitting down and like paying attention. But these people like are standing and they're not comfortable, So it's a tough crowd, man. But it certainly it helps you get your chops for sure.
Shit, yeah. Well, I mean, it'd be amazing for crowd work too because you're so close
Uh-huh.
in their face, and
Yeah.
such an important part of what you guys do.
Yeah. I hope you do stand up sometime. I heard you telling Tony that you've been thinking about it, doing a set.
Yeah. Well, that's what I wanted to do, when I was a
Yeah.
kid. It's just like you. I mean, I would see these guys, and like I remember just seeing I watched any stand-up comedy I could, like I remember the Rodney Dangerfield special that had Sam Kinison and Jim Carrey on it. Like just like, just I would go to school the next day and like just tell everybody about all these bits that I saw, and
I was the same way. Yeah.
yeah, and that's why it was so cool when Eddie Murphy Delirious came out, because we were already in like the 7th grade, so like more kids could watch it. And so when we went to school the next day, and everybody's doing ice cream and all of that, it was good. But yeah, man, it's definitely something. I mean, I think, and I've done improv comedy, which I know is a completely different thing, but yeah, I definitely don't mind being on stage with a microphone. And I just hosted a thing here, and I just hosted a roast in Dallas, and I didn't know any of the other roasters, but I was up there to try and and I did pretty damn good.
That's cool.
Just like winging it and doing jokes. So maybe one of these days I'll head up there to one of those open mics in Denton. The good thing would be for me is it would probably be a pretty friendly crowd, because chances are, like, once they hear me talk and see my hair, like, some of them are going to recognize me.
For sure.
And then, so then I've got them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I hope you do, man. We've already hit 45 minutes. I don't like to go too long. I don't like to waste people's time and shit. So, so thanks so much for being on. Do you have anything to promote? Like, where can people find you?
Everybody, I am everywhere at JARET2113, except TikTok. It's just Jaret Reddick, provided that's still on whenever this airs. And but yeah, man, you can, and my podcast are Jaret Goes to the Movies and Rockstar Dad Show, Bowling for Soup, a new album coming out soon, and
I'm excited for it, man.
Man, it's been a pleasure, dude. I'd love to come on anytime, and I promise I'm not that. I just want to tell everybody how patient that Curt is, because I had to cancel once to move it to this day, and then on this day I had to move it to noon, and then I fell asleep because.
Dude, I'm so glad you moved it to noon though, because I didn't fall asleep till like 4 this morning.
Oh, that's how. Yes, okay, that makes me feel so much better. But then I fell asleep because I had taken my kid to school at 6:30, and I had literally just woken up, and I'm like, dude, I'm gonna have to get some lunch, and like I looked like I just woke up. So anyway, I am not that hard to nail down, so invite me anytime. I would love to do it. And
absolutely, man.
For the love of God, please come on Jaret Goes to the Movies. We'd love to.
I'd love to, man. I would love to.
Yeah, we'll pick a movie. We'll pick a movie next month, and we would love to have you, man.
That'd be great. Well, thanks so much, Jaret. I'm looking forward to the new album, and hoping to see you on tour too sometime soon.
Absolutely, man. And same. We've my wife took me to see you one time here in Dallas, and I met you that night. And I'm stoked to see you again.
I appreciate it, man.
All right, buddy. Take care.
All right, you too. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, buddy. Bye.
All right, see ya.